literary device? It's been a while since we talked about it. It's a literary device. Anyone remember? Some of them are written down in your notebook, so you don't have all of them in there. How many of you have heard of a simile before? A simile.
Yeah.
Heard of a simile, Mo? What about you, Max? Have you heard of simile before?
I know.
The word simile?
Simile.
Just 1 second. Ernie, have you heard the word simile before?
No.
Tatiana, have you heard of the word simile before? What about you, Gabby? Have you heard the word simile before? Dea? No? Abby? No? Simile? Okay, so Ernie, write the word simile down, and then I want you guys to write this in your notebooks on the page that you put today's date on. Simile. S-I-M-I-L-E.
What?
L-E.
S-I-M-I-L-E.
One M,
One
honey.
M.
L-E. Okay? So, Mo, you said you know what a simile is. Why don't you tell us, what is a simile?
It's the same.
The same?
Yeah.
The same how?
Like the same as the.
Okay, Crystal Lee.
Like like a sentence, like it's using like or as comparing it.
Okay, so you're comparing two things using like or as. So the definition would be comparing two things. T-W-O, honey. Things. I-N-G-S. Comparing two things using like or as. What about metaphor? Has anyone ever heard of the word metaphor? And I know we've talked about this, but it was way at the beginning of the year. I missed out a studies class, so it's been a long time. M-E-T-H. M-E-T-A. No, T-A-P-H-O-R. So metaphor is your next word. These are all literary devices. Why do we call them literary devices? What does literary mean? What does literary mean, Abby? Think about the word. What does the word literary mean? What do you think it means? What are we doing right? What are you getting ready to do? You're getting ready to do what? Huh? You're getting ready to go run outside and, play PE or whatever? What are we getting ready to do?
Read.
Read, right? So literary has to do with literature, which has to do with reading. So they're devices, they're things that are used in reading. So a metaphor. So a simile is comparing two things using like or as. If I tell you a metaphor is similar to a simile, except it doesn't use certain things, what could we say a metaphor is?
Oh my god, this hamburger is like I learned this in 7th grade. Almost like she's in grade. Like my stomach is big as.
Okay, used as though, so that makes it what?
A simile.
A simile. So a metaphor is comparing two things not using like or as. So comparing two things not using like or as. So if I said her face was a mask,
After what?
if I say her face,
Like or as.
not using like or as. So again, comparing two things without
Or
using
as.
like or as. So if I said her face was a mask, I'm comparing what? What am I comparing? Her face and a mask, right? So two things that aren't the same, but you're comparing them. So why would I say her face was a mask? What does that mean?
That she had a mask on?
Not quite. That it looks like a mask, right? Maybe the mask is ugly, maybe the mask has a really pretty design on it, depending upon, you know, the picture or the image that you're looking at. Okay. Imagery.
Imagery.
I-M-A-G-E-R-Y. What do you think imagery is? What does that word mean? Imagery.
Image.
An image, that's right, but in literature, in words, what does it tell you? What would imagery be in a book? Do we have pictures in the books we read now in 8th grade?
No.
No. Some we do, but not a lot. It's not like when you guys were little and you have the books where every page has the picture on it and helps tell the story.
Is it like the point of view?
Not quite the point of view, but good guess, Ernie. Max, sit up, please. Thank you. So if I tell you, as we read through the story, think about the imagery that you get. What am I talking about? What do you think? Tatiana, I know in your mind you're like, I know what it is, I just don't want to talk today, right? So what is an image?
Picture.
A picture, right? So imagery is the picture the words give you. So the imagery is the picture that the words in a book gives you. So we don't have pictures in our books, so we have to use the words to give us that picture.
The picture what?
The picture, the words. The words. Give the reader. One E, honey.
What?
One E in reader. Okay. So if I say it was an extremely cold night and the snow was falling heavy and I was so cold that my lips were blue and I was shaking. You don't have a picture to know what that means, but by those words you can understand, right? You can see in your mind what that person looks like. Okay? So there's a lot of imagery in this book. Okay? Conflict. We all have conflict. I have conflict with some of you almost every single day. What is conflict?
A problem.
Problem. So how many types of conflict do we have?
Okay.
No. How many types? We have conflict every day, but how many types of conflict are there? Who remembers? We've talked about this. And I know it's in your notes. Because we talked about it when we talked about the structure of a story.
Oh.
And look at that. We saw imagery in there too.
Yeah. Conflict. Oh, yeah.
Awesome, Tatiana. We have external conflict and internal conflict. Write it down, Ernie, please, to help us remember. External conflict. And internal conflict. Well, do one line for each, hon. Do one line for each. Just do external conflict, and the next line would be internal conflict. external conflict, what does that mean?
Character, struggle, and some outside problem.
Right? So external means outside. So a problem dealing with somebody else or something outside, right?
Wait, what?
So a problem outside. So what do I mean by that? A problem outside. What does that mean? A problem outside. C-O-N, that's why. A problem outside, what does that mean?
That happens outside?
Okay. So does that mean you walk out your door and you've got a problem because you're outside?
No.
No. What does it mean?
You solve the problem outside.
So if, let's say, Ernie and Max get into an argument, what kind of conflict would that be?
Internal.
External. Why, Max?
It happened probably.
Yeah, you have a problem with another person, right? Because with external conflict, we have man versus man. So if you two had a problem, we have man versus nature. And we have man versus society. Right? So internal conflict means what?
Character versus self.
Yeah, character versus themselves is a problem inside. So a problem inside. So does anyone remember the example I gave you? Had to do with. Anyone remember?
Oh yeah, with
The angel and the devil, right? Remember in the cartoon, sometimes you see the angel and the devil telling the cartoon character to do something, like, oh, you need to do this, and the other one's like, no, don't do that, it's bad. So it's a problem you have in your mind. You feel bad about something. Okay? So you really want to do it, but you're not quite sure if you should because you might get in trouble. But you know, it sounds really good, I want to do it. Right? Right, Max?
Yes.
Kind of like when, I know I should go to Mrs. Ewing's class, but I don't know if I'm just a little late, maybe she won't notice. I really want to go upstairs and see my friends.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Metaphor, imagery, conflict. We have. Okay. We also have irony. I-R-O-N-Y. You guys remember
Yes.
what is it? Who remembers? Remember we had the card that had the flame fire? It's been a while.
There's like 3 items, right?
Good, Bernie, you remember. Please stop.
I forgot what they call it.
So let's say, so here's an example, and then maybe you can tell me what the definition of irony would be. Plan this party, okay? You plan for weeks this party that's going to be great. You're going to have all this, and you have it in this really nice hall there. And then when you get there, all of a sudden you guys are having fun, you're dancing, and then the goes off and the sprinklers go on. Is that something that you expected to happen? So what can we say irony is then?
Something that you do is pick.
Yeah, so irony is the opposite of what's expected.
That's not hard.
Okay, and then Ernie was right. You want to add some more lines on there, honey? You remember how to do it?
No.
So highlight it, right mouse click. No, not that. Just right mouse click up.
Wait.
Sweetie, what are you doing?
I
You're
don't
just like
know.
stretching lines.
Party.
verbal, situational, and awesome job, good job, way to go for someone who doesn't want to talk today.
Yeah.
Okay, so verbal irony. So what do you think? So verbal is what? When you talk, right? So what do you opposite of what's expected? What do you think verbal irony is?
What's expected?
Of what you mean.
Oh, nice.
So you said what?
Like, oh, you're cute.
SIT.
They're so mean.
The opposite. Oh.
So you opposite.
It's the opposite.
Opposite. A. Okay, then we have girls. We see it in books. We see it on TV a lot more, though. So, who remembers when we saw the dramatic irony, when we talked about irony, and I showed you that picture of the news reporter right next to him? The news reporter was talking about, remember? And then the picture right next to him, what? Looked just like him. Oh, but we did, right?
Yeah.
So dramatic.
It's gonna happen, but he does.
Exactly, when the audience just knows no apostrophe S there, sweetie. What's going to happen. One oh, there you go. Happen, but the characters don't. You already have apostrophe. Go back again. Set up this marker in the best possible way.
Some stuff that you're not gonna expect.
Exactly, right? That we're not going to expect, that the character may not expect. Verbal irony is sarcasm. Do you think there may be some sarcasm in the book?
No.
Saying things that you don't mean to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Ewing. Does my voice sound like I'm happy with you?
Yes. No.
When you
Well,
come
yeah,
to class
sometimes.
late?
Yeah.
No.
I've never been late too.
No. Late am I?
Liz, have I been late to your class?
Not in a while. You can't remember. Not in a while. Alright, so when you come to class, you know I'm not happy, right? When you come out. How do you know I'm not happy?
Is it?
Your voice and then looking.
Is it? Yeah.
Voice, the way it's said, right? So about when they wrote those words. So how the author feels. Okay, then we have mood. Ben,
Is it character?
how do
Reader feels?
how the reader feels, yes. Ben, what have you been doing? How come you weren't here on time?
I feel
So you get embarrassed and then you get irritated. So in a book, the tone is when you read those words. Okay? Important because tone and mood are